trying to put together what are some big ideas. I mean, the field, I must have worn out a carpet upstairs, just walking back and forth on it, trying to figure out, what does this all mean? How does this all fit together? What is this? What are the implications of this? And what on earth is quantum coherence? And, all of those things, and trying to also turn that into language that ordinary folks can understand, including me.
Hi, my name is Zenka Caro. I'm founder of LightNet, and my passion and purpose is expanding what we believe is possible. We are here today with Lynne McTaggart. She is an award-winning journalist and author of 7 books, including The Field, The Power of 8, and The Intention Experiment. Her work has brought into view a new science, and her books have been translated in over 30 languages for a reason. She is bringing about an entirely new science, underscoring the ideas of consciousness and its incredible power, especially when we come together in groups of 8.
I guess my primary purpose in life is being a writer, a communicator. And that's something I knew I wanted to do from the age of 7. I was always going to be a writer. I was always going to be a journalist, too, by the time I got to my teens. I also wanted to be a disruptor. I am told from my high school reunions, and I don't remember this, but at a very, very young age, when John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon were running for president, and I lived in a very Republican town, I had set up a voting booth with my little chums in primary school, and I told them they all had to vote for John F. Kennedy. Now, even my parents wanted Nixon to win. So I guess those 2 strains were really present in me. And I went on in my 20s to become a journalist. I was going to put bad guys in jail. But 2 things at university really struck me and really helped me with my purpose. And one was falling flat on my face. I transferred from Northwestern, which was not difficult for me, that experience there, to Bennington College, which is kind of the wild woman of the 7 sisters, and a very intense place. And there was no place to hide. And I took on too much, and bottom line, they wanted to have me repeat my final year. So this is the first time this ever happened to me, and I was humiliated. And then I got out of university. I managed to graduate on time. And then in my first job, I got fired after 3 weeks, my first journalistic job. So it suddenly occurred to me that actually I was going to have to work a whole lot harder to achieve what I wanted. So I realized the really important thing to do was to be really focused and to work very hard at my craft. So I did that. And I achieved what I wanted. I started putting bad guys in jail, and I broke baby selling rings and had hidden cameras and tape recorders and all of that. And then I moved over to writing about health and looking at the scientific evidence. And there is when I started thinking about the power of the mind and the power of intention, because I saw very good studies of spiritual healing. And I kept wondering, well, what does that mean? And how far can we take this? And if you can have a thought and send it to someone else and make them better, then that undermines everything we think about how the world works. So I set off to find out why. And that resulted in my book, The Field, where I'd interviewed lots of physicists and frontier biologists and other scientists, but recognized that scientists speak in code. They speak in math. They also don't want to move beyond their experimental data to say, what does this all mean? So I realized with some alarm, I was going to have to put this all together. So I did with The Field. And it described a new science, the coming of a new science, and the coming of a completely new understanding of who we are. and how we should live. And then it also changed the messenger. That really became my purpose. So for me, it's really simple. When I want to get something done, I actually set mini goals and mini intentions. And I work at it. If I'm writing a book, I won't leave my desk until I've written at least 1,000 words a day. And then I know my other goal is I've got to have 5,000 done by the end of the week. And then I've got to have something else done by the end of that week. And by the end of the month, I've got a very clean chapter. And by the end of the year, I have my book. So I literally do that. I'm at my desk at 9:30 every day. And so one of the real key elements for me is setting myself intentions large and small, and also thinking really. There's an audacious side to me that is probably from a mentor of mine, my early journalistic days, who said, "I haven't said no till they kick you down the stairs." And that really stayed with me. And I guess there's always been a certain audacity, a certain idea that, yeah, I could do it. And I hold on to that all the time. And I always try to aim as high as I can. And I think those things are really important in understanding how to find your purpose. Never, ever play small. Always play the big game. One of the struggles that I encountered was working sometimes with editors whose work I didn't agree with. And I'm an editor myself, so I appreciate good editing. It's not like I say you can't touch any word of mine, but I appreciate good editing and I appreciate and understand bad editing. And I had some struggles with some editors who I just felt didn't have the same sense of language that I do. And the words are really important to me. The rhythms are really important to me. So I think it was that struggle of maintaining my own integrity that was difficult sometimes. And also, I think the trying to put together what are some big ideas. I mean, this field, I must have worn out a carpet upstairs, just walking back and forth on it, trying to figure out, what does this all mean? How does this all fit together? What is this? What are the implications of this? And what on earth is quantum coherence? And, all of those things, and trying to also turn that into language that ordinary folks can understand, including me. So I think those have been challenges. And also realizing if you're creating and talking about a new paradigm, the scientific community, the standard scientific community is not going to hug you back. They are going to say things, they're going to say critical things without really understanding. The field has been said to be nothing more than Star Wars. It's got 400 plus scientific references. It's just in a paradigm that the old paradigm doesn't yet understand, but is coming into understanding now. I wrote that book 25 years ago. So I think it's that. Also maybe a text we have a magazine called What Doctors Don't Tell You, and we write about what works and what doesn't work in conventional and alternative medicine. Mostly what doesn't work in conventional medicine and is dangerous, and what works and has been proven in alternative medicine. And, occasionally we get skeptic organizations trying to shut us down and try to take us out of newsstands and all sorts of things like that. And we've learned, again, these people are not going to hug back. And, you have to stand up and fight for yourself sometimes, which we've done and we've prevailed. How have I affected the people around me by living my purpose? Good question. My family, first of all, we're all really close. They live in the same town as us. We have 2 adult daughters. They both work for us. One is our chief operating officer and the other one does all of our design work. And so we are really, really close. And I think we had uncompromising views about keeping family as number one. So for me, while I had many ambitions to write, et cetera, I never wanted to do any of my work at the expense of my family. So my family always came first. And we did that even with our business. Our office with our magazine started in the top floor of our house. And then after a while, we moved across the street. And in subsequent times, we've always had our office 10 minutes away from home. So I could go to sport games. So I could be there for my kids. And that was a really important thing for me, was living my purpose. Was nothing I could do in terms of helping the world would mean anything if I couldn't help my family. So that was number one. Number two was trying to live in an uncompromised fashion, having a set of values that I would bring to my team and working with my team. So we have people I have a woman who has worked with us for 18 years. I have other people who have worked for 5 and 6 and 7 years, et cetera. We have amazing retention rate because we decided we were going to work in a way that was kind to people and understanding, and as one big essential family. We don't tolerate bad behavior and we don't tolerate laziness, but we don't have to tell people to work. They just do. They get the sense in the office. So I think that's been important for us. And I think what's been really important is to put intention in every area of my life and to realize that intentions work every day, that my thoughts are beaming out 24/7. All of us are leaky buckets. We're sending and receiving all the time. And I guess what's been really important, I haven't talked about, is it's been really important in all of my life to do something that helps. I have a really strong need to change things, to rip down old paradigms and to erect new ones. And I have a really strong need to help other people. And so I think that is woven through with our work, with What Doctors Don't Tell You. We have covered just about every kind of illness and tried to offer people healthy solutions that don't harm them. And we're very aware of the state of modern medicine and the fact that it is just an extraordinarily greedy business now and nothing to do with healing. So that's been a really important factor for me. And the other part of it has been my work with Power of 8 groups and Intention Experiment, realizing that we need community more than anything else, more than we need to breathe. We need to belong. And so creating these small groups has been a really important part of my life and a big intention experiments, because I've seen massive healings with people who have healed a medical condition, stage 4 cancer, 3 people getting up out of their wheelchairs, untold people, stage 4 cancer, reversing it. I had a woman who was going blind. Doctors could do nothing for her. One Power of 8 group, and she's completely healed. She has 20/20 vision now. We've had so many situations like that where people have been healed as a result of just coming together in this group and doing these techniques that I teach them. And then with the big groups, we found extraordinary rebound effects where half of the people taking part in our intention experiments, focusing on lowering violence somewhere, feel more love for everyone they come in contact with. So, somebody said to me, you're doing more than research. You're cracking open people's hearts. And I guess I think of that as my big purpose now is, changing paradigm, the I win, you lose paradigm, and trying to do something different and trying to be more loving in groups, large and small, and to create groups and to show how these extraordinary mirror effects happen. The final thing that I feel has morphed out of all of the work that I've done is some thinking recently about thinking, well, those people in charge, they really don't know what they're doing. We need an army of change makers. I've been thinking about that a lot. And then I suddenly thought, wow, I guess I have an army of change makers. I've got tens of thousands of power being groups around the world. What if I brought them together and gave them some free tools and had them join together, groups and other groups? We could affect change from the bottom up. We could affect change in their own communities and then start moving into larger spaces at a totally different way of being. So that's what I've been doing now in what I call the 8 revolution. So I think that, my purpose is to change the way things are. And I guess I do it one word at a time. I think if the majority of people lived out their purpose, we'd see a very, very different world, because we see violence primarily occurs because people are frustrated. They feel hopeless. They feel anger beyond and infuriated because they are stopped from doing something, or they don't even know what they want, but they know they don't want this. So I think if people were guided and helped to live their own purpose, to find out what it was and how to get there, and that sometimes it doesn't require all the money in the world to do this. It requires focus, commitment, a bit of audacity, and the desire to reach for the stars. Then they can get there. And if they do, they're going to be happier, and that happiness is going to radiate out to their entire social network. So if you imagine all of the people doing that around the world, you suddenly have an earth aglow in happiness and fulfillment.
Are you looking to begin your life of passion and purpose? We are waiting for you with our groups of 8 to 12. These loving teams are formed to look over our success data to find the fastest and funnest and most direct way for you to find your purpose and calling in life. To find out more, go to holomovement.net/purpose.